Welcome back. You're still watching This Week, a review of the big stories during the week, and I'm Somna Sambu. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria on Friday revoked the operational licenses of 4,173 bureau de change operators in the country, or BDCs as they are called. A CBN statement says the affected institutions failed to pay for license renewal, submitted returns, or comply with CBN directives on anti-money laundering, countering financing of terrorism, and counter-proliferation of financial regulations. Now, the move is part of efforts to restore confidence in the nation's foreign exchange market. Now, the Apex Bank had last week revised the regulatory and supervisory guidelines for BDC operations in Nigeria. In the guidelines, the bank categorized BDCs into Tier 1 and Tier 2. The revised guidelines pegged the minimum capital requirement for Tier 1 BDCs as 2 billion naira and 500 million naira for Tier 2 BDCs. It also banned BDCs from engaging in offshore business, financing political activities, and selling forex on credit to customers. They are prohibited to deal in gold or precious metals, granting loans as well as international inward transfer, except for operators that serve as cash-out points for international money transfer operators, IMTOs. The guidelines further state that no person shall carry on the business of BDC in Nigeria except with the prior authorization of the central bank. Sellers of the equivalent of $10,000 and above to BDCs are required to declare the source of the foreign exchange and comply with all regulations and foreign exchange laws. In addition, customers with $10,000 and above must declare such as the source of forex will be necessary. Well, to help us understand the moves by the CBN, we have joining us in the studio an economist, Dr. Akin Obuna, who will help us x-ray these issues. So welcome to the show. I mean, I'm so eager to ask you questions because there are so many of them. How could we have allowed the registration of over 5,000 BDCs in the first instance? Isn't that a regulatory misstep by CBN and the federal government?
Yeah, I think the CBN is supposed to have a ceiling for numbers of BDCs in Nigeria. The fact that, yes, if you can meet up with the capital requirements, that's an other basic requirement, everybody goes into that business. CBN is supposed to, at some point, have a kind of ceiling of number. Having about 5,800 and something BDCs in the country, I think is too much. Compared to how many, because they are going to be working aside with the banks, with the commercial banks. So having 5,000, over 5,000 BDCs, I think is very high. And probably, maybe they didn't know, they were not watching. I don't know how they got themselves into that number. But well, it's not too late for them.
You don't know, it's, there were some political motives for actually registering many of them.
Of course, there were, you know what we are talking about. There were some political...
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a journalist. It's left for you as my analyst to let me know. There are some political
moves, actually, to registering some of them. And if sanitizing them now is the way forward, I think is a good move from the central bank.
About 1,000 are still left. So what do we make of that? Isn't it still too much?
1,000 is still fair, compared to the over 5,000 that we had before. And, the reason for actually deregistering them was actually, based on law. So it's not something the BDC will say, okay, we are taking CBN to court to go and, fight for why should they have done that. The CBN has a very good foundation to actually deregister them. And I don't think they will be thinking of going to court to challenge that.
Now, let's talk about some of the guidelines that the CBN has rolled out. And of course, we've always known that if you have $10,000, you're supposed to actually declare it. But I mean, we see people's houses being raided by EFCC. I see them having millions of dollars, including people in government actually storing this money, maybe as a store of value and all of that, and it's been affecting fluctuations. Now you've had these new regulations. Tier 1 BDCs are to have 2 billion naira, and then Tier 2 will have 500 million. What do you make of that?
I think it's also a way. CBN might not be able to say, okay, we only want 1,000 BDCs, but by raising the roof and saying, okay, the capital base is now raised to 1 billion. And then they're also going to investigate that BDC that's going to declare 1 billion, you know, as its capital base. And then that will help them to reduce the number.
So it technically knocks out
those
who don't have enough.
Yes, it's just a way to technically knock out those that don't have that kind of capital base, and also reducing the number of the BDCs so that they can be effectively monitored. What we've seen in Nigeria is actually not encouraging. We see people selling, you know, hard currencies on the streets, even in traffic. You see people say, you want to change? Even at the airport, you don't, as you're arriving the airport, you see people, you know, trying to move around you, say they can give you dollars. These are, you know, illicit way of actually transacting foreign currencies. And I think if that is curbed, it will also help us in fighting corruption. You know, the main reason why this is going on is just to fight that corruption in the system. And then this is part of the move of the federal government. Yeah,
I mean, not quite long ago, while coming to the studio, I actually passed through a popular place in Abuja here where operators are severally along the streets. I don't know if they are legal or illegal. It's left for the authorities to talk about that. But I saw that they had demolished the popular zone 4 to the Abuja Continental Junction, where you would have several of these people, you know, hawking foreign currencies here and there. And the place has been leveled, they've all been chased out. But some people are questioning how much of an effect will that have? I mean, these people will also go to other places, business places, malls and all of that, and rent shops and all of that and continue their businesses. How much of an effect is that? Or is the government just running to make people feel that it's active when this currency speculation actually happens almost everywhere?
I think that's just the beginning by the government. You know, stopping them from the streets in a particular place in Abuja, which is Wuse Zone 4, is the beginning of monitoring, effective monitoring. What we lacked before now was proper monitoring. You know, government was just showing lackadaisical attitude. They were not looking into that sector, and then people increased. And we see some of these licensed BDCs also, you know, having some boys, they recruit some guys and say, okay, go out to the streets and get some people that buy, will give you a commission. That should not also be encouraged. If you are going to trade hard currency, it should be within the confines of a registered location with the CBN. So talking about them moving to another place to go and establish again, yes, that possibility is there. But people will begin to do that under the fear that if they are caught, they can be, you know, sanctioned for it. The EFCC, the police, and other government agencies should carry out effective monitoring to see that people stop and desist from this act of selling currencies on the streets in Nigeria. And
I'm taking you a little bit out of this to the war between the CBN and Binance. They've slammed down a $10 billion fine. And they are saying that it's actually a way to serve as retribution for what they say is the way of trying to, you know, filter how things are happening within the issues of currency speculation and trading on their platform. How much of an effect will this be? Because we also heard that 2 of the executives were arrested. So this move by the CBN now, and to slam this charge on Binance, and then of course having the executives arrested, how much of an effect will he have on the currency? And since then, some people have been saying that the Naira has gained, while others are saying that, look, it may not necessarily gain so much. Yeah. What's your view?
Well, my view on that Binance issue is that, first of all, yes, government move is good. We are trying to protect our currency, but I can tell you that there are other alternatives. Binance is just one out of about 15 other platforms.
Different crypto platforms.
Yes, platforms that you can use to do your trading. So if they are, clamping down on Binance, what about the other ones? And then talking about cryptocurrency, Binance is about, e-currency. You don't need to carry cash. Other platforms also allows for trading. You can convert your Naira to dollar, P2P, P2C and all that. And then other avenues are also going on. So clamping on Binance is not enough, though it's just like the first step. I know they are also monitoring other platforms, but it's just like a first step. And Binance has also owned up to pleading guilty to the charges that was leveled against them. So it shows that, yes, some level of corruption has also been entering into Binance.
Yeah, because they said that's where all the flipping of the Naira was always going on.
Yeah.
You hear 1,500 and now in the next 2 hours you hear it's now 1,750 and some people almost getting close to 2,000 Naira.
Oh yeah.
But the federal government also accused Binance of having allowed $26 billion US to pass through its platform into Nigeria, and the CBN says it can't explain what those $26 billion was used for, who it was going to, and all of that. Could it be also a regulatory failure on the part of the CBN to be able to monitor these new monetary platforms online and all of that? And how can they say that such a huge quantum of money got into Nigeria and nobody knows where these monies went to, who they went to, and all of that? Isn't it regulatory failure?
Yes, it's a regulatory failure on the part of the central bank, but not really, because you see, when the clamor for cryptocurrencies started, the CBN was saying, no, we don't know anything about it, we don't support it, because cryptocurrency is the foundation of how you can move a chunk of money into another country without carrying cash, So this money is actually coming through cryptocurrency. There are some people in Nigeria that, they buy cryptocurrency and then, they exchange it for dollars. And before you know, dollar has already come in, and then they can now look for somebody to sell this dollar to, and then before you know, the money has entered the economy. We are actually in a world that is now borderless, especially when it comes to currency. Cryptocurrency is one currency that is accepted worldwide. You can also have a wallet. I don't know if you already have a wallet.
Well, I don't, because I'm not rich enough to have one.
So cryptocurrency is well accepted. In fact, the central bank now is already working so hard in that area. I also have a friend who is into, forensic investigation in cryptocurrencies, on how, you purchase, how you sell, they can always trace that. Even in the EFCC, they're also working on how to trace that. Remember, the federal government also even put in the Finance Act of 2023 that cryptocurrencies trading will now be subject to capital gains tax. It means that government is now beginning to recognize cryptocurrency. So
and that's what several people had thought initially. I'm sorry I have to interject there. People had thought that Nigeria would take advantage of the cryptocurrency situation and then make some monies out of it. But the impression they're giving to us is that they are lost, that they don't know so much about it. I know that Emefiele had some issues then and it was like, no, we are not ready and all of that. But people are saying that, look, cryptocurrency is a reality. I mean, we came with the e-Naira issue and all of that, but I mean, only God knows where the e-Naira is at the moment.
The e-Naira is being restructured now by the central bank in order to let it gain more acceptance by Nigerians. But the cryptocurrency is one way that the CBN need to also, put monitoring eyes on that. Is such a way that people can use to finance terrorism, they can use to finance illicit drugs, and we don't want that in our country. So CBN also needs to, be up, ahead of the game and see how to track people that are trading, all this. There's always a trace online. Just like I said, I have a friend who is majorly into that, working with the EFCC on tracking those that are actually trading online, because there's always a trace. From this person, you trade with this person, and then from this person, you are trading with the third person. They can always trace the flow of this currency online. But if the CBN is playing ignorance, we don't want cryptocurrency because we don't have a control, and that's why it has affected us now. If, assuming when that crypto came, CBN took charge and said, yes, we are interested. Let us see how we can control this. Let's see how we can monitor, because CBN might not be able to control, but they can actually put an eye on it and monitor the flow of this currency from persons to persons, from persons to other consumers, and so on. So CBN has that failure on their part because they refuse to actually show interest in that light. And Nigerians took advantage of it. But I believe by now, they have woken up to see that they need to actually put eye on that area.
Yeah, as we try to round off the conversation, Dr. Akin Obuna, we have this interagency collaboration that's ongoing between the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Agency, the EFCC, the CBN, and all of that, trying to see how they get the best out of this investigation of Binance and the $26 billion US. But Nigeria is now requesting Binance to actually wipe out all data that have to do with Nigeria from its platform, and then submit even that data before they wipe it out to them. I mean, and people are wondering, don't international laws actually apply? Because Binance is not just a Nigerian institution. Are we going to have some challenges there?
Oh yes, it's accepted. If government can request for the data, especially for investigation, to track whether some transactions on that platform has been used to finance terrorism or other illicit transactions. So the international law actually permits for any government agency to request for data of transactions, especially if they are using it for investigation. If it's on investigation ground, fine. Government can have access to it based on the international law. So I think the central bank and the other, agencies, they are also working and making this request based on the international law. And just like I said, that is why you see that Binance CEO is already pleading guilty.
Yeah, I mean, they're already cooperating with the Nigerian authorities.
So because they know that there is no law that is actually defending them.
Yeah, but they are not registered in Nigeria.
Yes.
So how will the government have a full grip on them? That's also
the government is having full grip because government have signed treaties with other countries. Okay. And based on the treaties that is signed with other countries, they can have access, even if you are not based
so from the jurisdiction where Binance is registered.
Yes, if Nigeria has a treaty with that country on repatriation of fund or other, country relationship,
maybe mutual legal assistance.
Yes, they can act on that agreement and then bring down Binance, and I think that's what they're actually doing.
Okay, as we try to round off this conversation, quickly talk to me about what the average BDC seller who used to sell, because many of them will go out of job because we have over 4,000 of them being their certificates being revoked and all of that. Shouldn't the government also think of something to actually help these people? I mean, these were SMEs, people who were legally employed, because the economic weather is super hot right now. What do we do to make sure that these people don't get into illegal activities?
Yeah, I think government is actually working on, bringing them together. And the government is looking at the area of agriculture because you see many of the people in this business are actually from the north. And the north is the farm-based, agriculture base of the country. So I think the government is looking at in the next farming season, they want, new farmers to register so that they have access to farm equipment so they can go into farming and live.
You think someone who earns money is super hot, almost every day want to go into agriculture, that takes up to 6 months or 9 months?
No, there's money in agriculture actually.
Yeah, but the gestation period is somehow long compared to when somebody just brings money. Yeah, I mean, $20,000 now, and then you just earn an income that it will take you a long period of time.
I'm sorry, because it's actually killing us in our country. We have to encourage them to look for other alternatives. Having quick money is not the way out. People need to work out, sweat, and then think out of the box to actually earn money. I'm not looking for quick money, fast money, hey, everywhere. Government also need to control that because it's working against our economy. And we need to revive our economy.
Yeah, just before I let you go, they are not doing that alone. They are doing that with the banks, where some of the banks are involved in all of this, including bank executives and all of that. So how do we have a clean sweep so that we're not just cleaning under, meanwhile, the big guys are up there just left alone? How does the government ensure that these reforms actually go to the intended people, the people who wield the big stick, people who could go get $10 million, $20 million from government and all of that? I
think it's just about government issuing another policy. I've always advised that, okay, this way that they are doing, yes, is good, but is that the solution? Is that the short-run or short-term solution? I'll say no. Government needs to still peg the dollar. Once the dollar is pegged, and then maybe government is doing a kind of subsidy, which I know the president is saying no, he doesn't want to do. And that is why people are now speculatively hoarding the dollars. So, but once the dollar is pegged, I tell you, everybody hiding dollars in their house and in their bedrooms, we bring out the dollars because they don't want to.
So for how long can they peg that actually?
They can peg it for maybe a period of 6 months. It's short-term solution. So that once it is pegged, you see that dollar will start falling, it will start going down. And once it's going down, everybody will bring out all what they have to see that they quickly change because Naira is now gaining. And from there, government can now, mop up all these dollars from their hidden, claves. And then from there, policies will come. All these policies of lifting, transfer of money from domiciliary account, they need to review all those policies because those policies is what has driven us to 1,500 Naira to $1.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dr. Akin Obuna is an economist and is based in the Nigerian capital here, always full of wisdom, and we continue to thank you for always helping us here at Arise to understand all the issues that are coming up within the country. Well, that's the much we can take on this edition of This Week. Thanks to our production team here in Abuja, Lagos, and London. Do join us same time next week for another exciting edition. I'm Somna Sambo.